So how do you describe yourself? Like, what's your title?
It's a matchmaker in the art world.
Welcome to Subtext and Discourse Art World podcast, demystifying the world of contemporary art and photography through conversations with those involved in the field. I'm your host, Michael Dooney. My guest today is Dr. Wiktoria Michalkiewicz, an interdisciplinary expert with extensive international experience in storytelling, talent management, journalism, and photography. In 2021, she founded REZO, a consultant agency specializing in global career strategies for visual artists, talent management, international art public relations, and art advisory services. We speak about how her career has developed over the past 15 years, working with assignment, editorial, and fine art photographers, and how bringing together these varied experiences has enabled her to create new opportunities for those that she works with. A quick reminder to please subscribe to Subtext and Discourse Art World podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's free and it helps other people discover the show. Now, without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Wiktoria Michalkiewicz. Last time I saw you was in Ireland this summer, and it still looks like it's summer where you are now.
Yeah, it is. It is summer where I am. In Portugal, it's summer all the time, which is one of the reasons why I'm here in the first place.
Yeah, nice. So we'll see each other next week, or in a couple of days, actually, we'll see each other in Paris for Paris Photo. How long have you been going to Paris for?
Wow, many, many years. 10, 12 maybe, at least, something like that.
Yeah. How important is Paris Photo for people that are maybe not familiar with the event?
Well, this is the key event for collectors' galleries. So, of course, it's the biggest or the most known art fair that is focused on photography. So it is important for everyone, I would say, like from people who are just starting and then also want to get to know the industry or what's happening, what are the trends, so to say, maybe also in terms of collecting photography. But then also, of course, it's a meeting point for everybody, for the galleries, for the collectors, for the curators as well. So it is one of the top events for us, absolutely. And I'm looking forward again to go there and have my schedule completely packed from.
You always do. When I saw you in Arles that time, I remember seeing your calendar, and it's like you don't have any space at all. I always have like a couple of hours in between everything so I can let things run over, but you're very like on
I'm very
schedule.
serious about these events, you know. Yeah.
So how did you get into the field then? Because it's 10 years going to Paris Photo. Were you always involved with photography? Was that your starting point? How did you find your way?
No, actually, my starting point was maybe more academic. I mean, of course, everybody studies something, I guess. But in my case, I studied social anthropology, cultural studies, sociology, linguistics. So it was quite broad. And then my main motivation when I entered photography world was actually to find a way to transmit the ideas that are embedded in social sciences, but make them more understandable. So I come from the social sciences kind of background maybe into the field, and then actually the first entry was into film, not photography.
Okay.
So I started working with film production, and then parallel to that I lived in Sweden back then. It was 2009-10. I started also scouting other possibilities, and then actually Fotografiska museum opened that year, 2010, in Stockholm, which I found very interesting in terms of the approach, also because it was so accessible. It was a very broad offer in terms of exhibitions. And then at the same year, I started working with Nordic Light Festival of Photography in northern Norway, where I had the privilege of working with some of the top photographers and artists from all over the world, from Albert Watson, Bruce Davidson, I mean, you name it. They managed to invite via Morten Krogvold, who was the artistic director of the festival, all these incredible people with absolutely incredible stories. And then this is somehow, first of all, that was my first kind of academia of photography as well, because the artists would also give lectures. So then I would learn firsthand about their work. And then also I fell in love with photography this way, and that it just continued from there. Basically 15 years now, 15, 16.
Yeah, wow.
Time flies.
Did you stay in Sweden for very long? Because you were at Fotografiska a while, weren't you?
No, actually, back then in 2010, I didn't yet start at Fotografiska. I did a little internship actually at Fotografiska back then. But then I wasn't still sure if this is the place, or I didn't really understand the industry that well yet. And then, of course, I was studying then 2 faculties, this and that, and kind of still looking for my way. And then I started working for National Geographic the same year, 2010-11. And then also I was actually interviewing photographers for the photo reportage section. So I was assigned, like from the day one almost, the photo reportage section in the magazine. And that also gave me another type of insight into the photo world. And then, because also of my many different interests and projects that I had, I thought, okay, I want to actually scout the industry or understand the industry before I step into a role. So long story short, I was also a commercial agent and then working with the biggest magazines, but then also trying to understand the market. And then in the commercial agency that I worked in, I was responsible for building art department. So back in 2014-ish, my artists also started to be exhibited in New York, Paris, and LA, and so on and so forth. So that was kind of the beginning of the work that I'm doing now. And then I started working at Fotografiska.
Cool.
For a few years when Fotografiska was growing from like being based in Stockholm, so the organization was growing internationally. And then first I was exhibition producer, so I joined the exhibition team at Fotografiska Stockholm, and then I was moved to Fotografiska International, which was a small team kind of responsible for international development of the organization, which was very inspiring time for both myself and the organization, I guess, that now, as we maybe know it here in our little circle of photography friends, is in New York, in Berlin, in Tallinn. And back then we worked on Tallinn, New York, and London. That didn't happen actually due to Brexit and other things. But for me it was just incredible experience. So that's how all these dots were connected.
Yeah, absolutely. When you say commercial photography, you mean like fashion shoots and product photography?
Yeah, exactly. I worked at Shoot Me Visual Artists. It's an agency based in Warsaw, Poland. And it's very, very, very good agency. Also, already back then, so that was 2014 when I started working with them for a couple of years. They had very forward thinking also. So yes, I was doing commercial productions as well. And then that also gave me an understanding how that part of the photography industry works as well. But then also with the ambition to actually support artistic projects of photographers that were united in this, represented by this agency. So that was a little bit interesting approach also, and then quite unique also for Central Europe as well. So, but the talents were amazing, and I'm still in contact actually with some artists that I worked with back then. With one, actually, we opened the exhibition just now in September with his new body of works. So we still keep in touch, and that was also a great time for me to understand, the market internationally and scout for opportunities for these artists internationally as well. Yeah,
so I guess then your skill set kind of goes across all avenues of photography, really, because if you started with National Geographic doing reportage and then going into the commercial end of things where you're working with magazines and then doing products, but then going to a institute like Fotografiska, it is sort of the art end of photography. How much overlap is there, or how separate are each of these three fields?
Yeah, they're surprisingly separated still somehow. I mean, for me, it's maybe even a little bit surprising because also I work like this. I work across disciplines myself, even within my personal development. So even within my studies, I studied several disciplines and so on. So somehow for me, it's easy to connect these things or to see the parallels or overlaps. But it seems that they actually function as separate bubbles in one way or the other. which is also quite normal. I mean, of course, a commercial agency has their own way of functioning and client base and so on. I mean, there is a different kind of agenda behind it. And then, galleries, of course, different. And, institutions or museums, festivals, different. So it was certainly for me interesting to understand like the connections, but also where they are disconnected, but could be connected for the sake of the artists, actually, as well, because I come from the artist perspective most of all, and that has become actually the most interesting part, talent development, more than anything else, as I look at it these days, because all these actually segments of the industry are there to support the artists, to support the talent. So why not finding some overlaps also that maybe have been omitted or not really explored yet, also to enhance the possibilities for the artists to actually reach their full potential, I would say, in the industry worldwide. And that's a little bit of the ambition that I have right now.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a good point then to talk about the agency that you founded, because I think, like you say, you've got experience from seemingly unrelated industries, which I guess people within the industries know that I do this. Although those people also use photography, it's completely separate to what I'm doing. But I think people outside of that just think you're all taking pictures. It's all the same. So how did you decide to start up? Is it REZO, like the printing method?
Which is actually like translated as a network in one of the translations, which it's exactly what I do. I matchmake talents with the appropriate audiences, appropriate venues, appropriate representation, and basically create networks where maybe they haven't been really networks in the places that I'm trying to, or I'm connecting people and everyone for the sake of mutual benefit.
So how do you describe yourself? Like, what's your title?
It's a matchmaker in the art world. Well, I come in many different roles, actually. So, normally I say, or I describe myself as an agent in the art world, actually. But of course, I mean, I am also a strategist for the artists, so I design career strategies for the artists, looking not only at their body of work, but also their other skills that they might have that we can use, which can be education, which can be speaking, keynote engagements, which can be coming up with creative ideas in one way or the other. So looking at the existing body of work, looking at future body of work in the making. So I'm trying to, assist them actually to also bring people to their lives that will actually help them also grow as artists, as people as well. And in that way, we are really kind of looking holistically at the person. And so, of course, the talent or the actual projects are very important. But then I look much more broadly, also the way of thinking, the way of resonating. And then also my academic background helps there as well, or strategic background helps there also to kind of give them sometimes different feedback or give another context to the work that they might not see by themselves either, because I mean it's just simple that they don't have the tools to do that, and so I provide the tools for them. So it's quite complex, sounds like it maybe, but also so the kind of idea is to really use these like different contexts that I understand myself how they work, and then provide this knowledge to the artist as well, and to kind of help these people, the artists, to navigate the field of photography, which is much more complex, I would say, than it used to be. And also there is much more pressure on the artists to actually be able to navigate that themselves, which was maybe not the case years ago. When these different segments also had a little bit different pace of growth and just different budgets, different structures, just different realities, right? So I'm trying also to help to find the way in these new realities that we are facing, global realities as well. So we're talking also really international approach as well, and a long-term approach. I'm quite focused on that as well, that we're not looking at the artist in the scope of, 3-4 months. We were looking at 5 years, 10 years. And it's always something in the back of my head when I work with the talents,
Because if you entered the field 15 years ago, that was kind of pre-social media. and how everything's kind of connected.
It sounds weird.
It does
makes
sound
me really
weird.
old.
I'm the same. So. But even thinking about how even it was kind of pre-smartphones and how, I guess, how connected everything was. Like we still had the internet, obviously we've had that since the 90s, but it didn't move as fast as what it does now. And I suppose in the role that you've taken on, how different is it for artists compared to how it was in the early 2000s or in the 2000s really?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I have the answer to that, maybe because back then I was still scouting, but maybe it feels that this commercial world was very much detached from art world, right? And I mean, it's still the case, obviously, but somehow, and also I was then embedded more in the emerging market, which is still emerging in certain ways, which is Central Europe, I could say. So people, I don't know, like especially in Central Europe, then art world or art market was not existing almost.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
there were, especially I mean in photography. So even these days, sometimes when I talk to a couple of years ago, now it's changing actually. It's changing rapidly after pandemic or after COVID, like things shifted. But when I would talk to the artists, it would be more even almost like an offense to say that they are art photographers. No, I'm a commercial photographer. I don't do art. I'm okay.
Wow.
I didn't mean
to
offend you. So it's also a little bit, because like different countries or different regions, they have their own story also, right? How these segments of the market also have been growing and when it happened, and it's connected, of course, to economical situation of the country. I mean, there are so many factors to it, to the consciousness of the people or the collectors on one hand, or clients on the other, if we talk about commercial world. So there are just so many elements that should be taken into consideration. So I don't think it's possible to generalize. But I mean, for sure, what we can say is that, maybe there was a little less pressure on the artist because the representation would mean more that the person is more maybe taken care of in one way or the other. So the artist represented by a gallery or agency, commercial agency, the artist then could rely more on this representation to actually guide them in the world, in the art world or in the commercial world, and like really relax into it a little bit more. It feels, maybe I'm wrong, but that's my feeling a little bit, or it was more territory based, whereas now first of all, it's much harder in the sense that there is a struggle for the art world as well. So the galleries, they really have to fight for exploring new possibilities for their artists. There is much more demand, so there are really many artists, not that many representatives to them. So that's it's really difficult also in that way. There is a lot of investment for the galleries also to represent the artists, which had been the case before, but it's just somehow more hectic, it feels as well. And and everything is globalized. So, I mean, looking for new opportunities really requires so much research and so much effort all the time. And it's not enough also to just be in one field. So, I mean, if you're a press photographer these days, it's almost, if we speak 20 years ago, it was a different world, right, than now. So it's really, these days, the industry really requires the artists to be much more creative and much more strategic and much more, to be business-oriented or looking for opportunities themselves, because it's much harder for the representatives to find them opportunities, it feels, or it just takes a little bit more effort and time and money.
yeah, exactly. I think we didn't mention this before, but I guess if people are also wondering where your accent is from, you're Polish, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're from Poland and you were working in Sweden and now you're based out of Lisbon. But I think even when I asked the question just now about social media, I'm coming from Australia. Although I'm an outsider to Europe, but living and working there, I'm discovering a lot of things as they're happening. So I'm not growing up with them and experiencing them firsthand. And I remember when I went to Krakow Photo Month in 2013 or 14 and kind of feeling like the enthusiasm and excitement coming out of that region and how a lot of people, because I was living in Berlin, a lot of people were close to Central Europe anyway. And so you kind of had a lot of exposure to it and understanding of it. But I even realized just now talking to you about it, we sort of forget how Western European and US centric a lot of stuff is. Although with the new challenges that have come about with a lot more accessibility, yes, there are obviously a lot more challenges, but has it helped open up doors for a lot of people in these areas that otherwise would be overlooked? Like it's easier maybe for them to kind of at least get some exposure, do you think? Or is it just still just as difficult?
From Central Europe, you mean?
Or from any underrepresented region, really. Like people that normally wouldn't have had a seat at the table. Because there's lots of really exciting work coming out of these spaces that normally, unless you go to a festival in that area or a curator goes there, finds something really good and then brings it back, now it's easier to see things that are happening in places that you wouldn't normally go.
Yes, certainly, on one hand. And I think, well, in Poland, I can talk about Poland mostly. We've had a very strong festival scene there. And then, of course, Krzysztof Cendrowicz is one of the people to thank for this, because also he's always had this international view of things, and he was very courageous to set up a festival that nobody understood what he was doing back then in Łódź, which is a town that, you know, who knew that Łódź existed before Photo Festival. So yeah, people like him with charisma, with vision, I mean, and also perseverance of some sort. I mean, they really paved the way for the artists internationally. But then again, since Photo Festival, and then there is also Month of Photography in Krakow, and there are many, these days there are so many festivals in Poland. It's really incredible. But what we've missed also, and I think it's again the scene that is gradually developing, were institutions actually, so institutional support for the artists. And now again we see that over, especially since Poland entered the EU, so we're talking 2005. Since then it's been just like exponential growth also of these new venues and new renovated or new buildings for cultural institutions, which is incredible. Like now when I look at it, I'm very amazed also by the quality and about the will to collaborate. And then of course that brings another level to the scene, to the market, because this institutional support is crucial to really elevate the work as well. And then the next step is actually to build the collector's understanding of the industry too, or of the art. So especially again, there were some initiatives, like very good ones as well. Katarzyna Sagatowska, for example, who is a gallerist and owner of Jednostka Gallery that actually is going to be at Paris Photo this year. She was also very active in that region as well, to try to educate people about how to collect photography, but then also she was a pioneer, so it was still not very understood maybe. And then it feels like now really since like 3-4 years maybe, we see in Poland this massive interest in collecting art in general. So there is also this new kind of space carved for photography as well, in my opinion. So it's coming. It's not yet there. Wow. So now actually is the momentum, I feel, in Central Eastern Europe, because also there is a lot of interest from international curators to go there, and we see more and more of that. And I agree actually that there is incredible work out there, but it's just we didn't really have the platform to promote it that much. So this is really what is going on now, that I think also artists are a little bit more comfortable in promoting their work internationally as well. Yeah, then the institutions, also curators, some of them, they have international experience, and also they bring this experience down to Poland too. And there is also a will to collaborate actually in the region as well. So, and what I'm thinking also about the kind of quality of Central Eastern European photography is that, there is also very long history in terms of technique, and then also very, interesting political context to it. A lot of experimentation, a lot of actually courageous artists in one way or the other. So it feels like there is a lot of talent in that region. And so I'm just waiting for 2025, when Poland takes over the presidency in the European Union's Council, to promote it further, actually.
So tell me more about this. What's happening in 2025?
So yeah, the first half of 2025 is the Polish presidency in the EU. And I'm really honored to be a curator of the exhibition or co-curator of the exhibition that is connected to this presidency, and it's going to be at Kappa Center starting February. Also, I cannot say very much yet about it. But one of the ideas is also, of course, to highlight the talent from the region, and it's going to be both like Hungarian and Polish artists at the exhibition, and then we're going also to invite curators from so-called Western Europe, and then also from our region as well, so Central Eastern Europe, and then like provide opportunities for the artists, like networking opportunities with these curators via portfolio reviews, and also to connect curators in the region as well to exchange ideas about how to collaborate, how to more successfully promote the artists abroad, and so on and so forth, and to speak in a kind of unified language, and what do we miss, and which experiences all like these institutions and artists can use from more developed markets as well in their own practice. So all the know-how that is really essential to actually move forward. And really growing the awareness and consciousness about photography and the talents and the value and so on and so forth of these talents, and what is actually happening also in the region, right? Because I feel, and not only me, that there is just so much to it, but it just didn't have somehow a unified platform, even though there have been, of course, festival-wise, that's been happening for a while already. So Polish festivals are very connected to international festivals, which is already something that has been happening. But again, as I said before, festival scene is a little bit different than maybe institutional context as well. And then again, another level is also to bring the work to the awareness of collectors actually as well. And then both public collections, so museum collections, and also private collections. So then this is still something that we have a lot of work to be done. So, which is very exciting because it's exciting to see how the region is also developing in that sense. How people are curious. People in this region are very, very curious. Also, very open to experimentation. Very actually open to collaboration too. So I'm feeling it's a new wave of enthusiasm also in this part of the world, in spite of actually a very dramatic situation, politically speaking, very close by, but somehow in spite of that, there is a lot of energy, creative energy happening, and I'm very pleased to be part of it, really.
Yeah, awesome. So is your aim then to, do you work predominantly with Polish photographers, or do you promote Polish photographers to the region outside, and then you try to find people from outside the region and bring them into Poland? Are you kind of a cultural...
For this specific project, of course, personally, this is my personal mission also to highlight, to highlight Central Eastern European photography, absolutely, because, well, obviously I'm from there, so so I feel also that my experiences can help, and I'm very happy to share also in one way or the other, and then support anybody who wants to be supported. But also, it goes many different ways. So now I don't work only with Polish photographers. Actually, I work with many international photographers. So I work with, for example, Ragnar Axelsson, who is not Polish, Julia Flirton-Batten, with Bassenbaut, with many different artists, also on many different levels of actually development as well. So they might be very known, but then still many things can be done for them too. So depending on who these artists are and what is their need. I also am quite flexible, and we are coming together. We are creating a strategy that works for them and that fills the blanks in their careers as well. So in that sense, my approach is very broad, actually. So I work with both mid-career artists and already recognized artists. And then also with some up and coming as well. And then some from Poland too. But also like from many different places. So people from the US, people from all over Europe, actually. So yes, there are no limitations in that sense because the purpose is the same. So I take the artist and I kind of recreate we are testing where the work would be a fit, right? Where we can give more exposure to the work. So it really doesn't matter that much where they are from originally, because there are always some territories that that can be covered, and some areas that can be covered. And it's also about continuity. So as I said before, I work kind of strategically as well. So it's important that actually this momentum continues, because as we know it, sometimes the artist has a momentum and then it kind of fades away because there is no strategy behind it. So it's almost like, oh yeah, now it's going to happen for me, right? Thinking. And no, it's not. If you're not going to push it consciously and really make a decision that, okay, this is what I need to do, and know also what you are doing, then, I mean, well, it can happen, but it's less likely than like being actually aware of your career path and what is out there also to be reached. So this is also when I step in with my knowledge of the industry as well, with my perspective, and then we work together with the artists to achieve these goals, long term and short term and so on. So I come in with this strategic approach and long term planning of their careers as well. So that's how it works.
Yeah. And I guess not everybody is able to take on, you're also not able to take on every single person that would like a bespoke service. So you also do teaching and mentoring as well, don't you, to groups and classes? So
yes.
I guess to convey this information so people can understand how things work. And I think the latest one I saw you have coming up, which will have already happened by the time this goes live, unfortunately, in the Houston Center of Photography, which is receiving exposure in the art world.
Yes. Well, actually, when I started working with the artists as I do, which I do in a little, also it's quite specific way, because I take on artists on a seasonal basis, which means that I work intensively with the artists in the spring season or in the autumn season, and then I take them on for 3 months. And then, we implement the strategy that we came up with, and kind of deciding about the territories, about the scope, about whatever the artist needs. And then another season, they can come back also for another another scope, or also, we kind of decide how to move forward with that.
Oh, that's good.
So it's this kind of rotating group of artists also, and some we have a break sometimes, and then they come back. so it's like, it's quite flexible, and that's also something that I've been prototyping in the first year of working with the artists, and has proven to be the most kind of efficient, because it goes together with the pace of the art world as well. So decisions take time, right? So somehow it's been very productive for everyone involved. And then, yes, exactly. I also started to get, when people understand what I do, more and more people are interested in working with me, which is super, super nice. I really appreciate it. But of course, I mean, I cannot. You're
one person.
Yeah, I'm one person, and then also, my time is. I have just 24 hours a day, unfortunately. So more often I do the workshops, especially for emerging artists, but also sometimes for the artists that they don't even think that they would need this kind of knowledge, because. Well, I did, for example, I did a workshop on career strategy at Exposure Festival in Sharjah last year, and there were, among the other people who attended were really experienced, award-winning photographers, artists, but mostly photojournalists maybe. And they were completely mind-blown by what I was talking about, as they kind of said after the workshop. Because, again, they operate in certain area of the market, and then so me bringing the knowledge about other segments that they just didn't think about, because maybe they knew about it but just didn't think that this could be something for them, or how to think about their work in the context of other segments of the industry. So that was very, very interesting for me to see how I can contribute also. And then of course also due to that fact that many artists just don't have that knowledge, and also, I mean, even people who are just graduating from art schools, I mean, most of the time there is no like conversation about like, business approach, maybe more entrepreneurial approach to your work and how to even think strategically about your work. It's more about the content. And of course, content matters the most. That's obvious. But in the end of the day, I mean, these days, as we said, we have to also be, or the artist has to also be a little bit of the agent all the time for himself or herself. The more they know how to do it, the better it works for them. So maybe that's why also I get also these possibilities to teach from time to time, which I try to do and to share, of course, to more people, and then also empower them in actually building these careers that they want to have. So yeah, Houston is one of these opportunities for me and for the artists.
Have you had much to do with the US scene?
Well, yes, I'm exploring it. So yes, we've had some representations for the artists in the US, yes. And also some shows are like about done and in discussion for the future. But of course, this is a never-ending story a little bit as well, because the US is such a huge market. So actually now in December, I'm focusing on the west coast of the US as well. I'm going there for a month. So yeah, it's going to be more of that exploration, also what possibilities we have in the west coast of the US. But yes, I'm working on a couple of shows for next year in the US too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's happening.
Oh, exciting. If an artist is listening and they think, you know, I would like to work with Wiktoria, what's something that they should perhaps consider before they go to your website and then write to you?
Well, I'm always open to get in touch, so nothing special really. I mean, if somebody wants to get in touch with me, then please, yes, please do. But yeah, for sure, I mean, for working with me, it's quite important to know why you want to work with me, maybe. What do you miss and what is kind of the desired outcome in the sense of what is lacking in your career as an artist, as a photographer. Also a little bit, consciously, it's not enough just to send me portfolio and like, okay, look at my portfolio. That is also something that I recommend to the artists, even when they do portfolio reviews, that it's good to know what you want from a person that you are seeing or contacting, and being actually quite open about it. Because then it's, of course, easier to give a feedback and to actually do something together in the future when we have this clarity and the artist also knows what he or she wants, right? So yeah, but other than that, I mean, I'm always trying to actually accommodate the artists in one way or the other, either if it's like individual consultations, which I will sometimes do, like just one session, or some if they want to work more intense and more strategically long term, then it's sometimes also possible if I'm not fully booked for the season, which is happening these days. That I have a lot of some people on the waiting list already for the next season. Or if somebody is interested in the workshop as well, so that's another possibility to get these insights and to meet and discuss the work. Absolutely.
Yeah. How often do you do the workshops?
Well, I didn't actually do that much myself yet, or I didn't launch workshops that would be under my agency, because I have been working with partner institutions for that. But it's been like maybe 4 times a year now. This year it will be 4 quite big occasions to do a workshop, and in different locations. So it was Sharjah, and it was Romania.
Oh, wow.
Actually. Then, Amsterdam, that is WordPress Photo Foundation, and now Houston. So,
cool.
So,
yeah, very international.
So it's all over the place, and you know, I mean, I'm not really advertising that much either. So it's just like via conversations, and then these workshops have been received quite well. So then, for next year, I already have some planned as well. But then again, more with institutions, and then if I have also interest and people would like me to run a workshop, then I will do it, because I have these formats ready to go. So
cool. Well, I mean, even just the high quality listenership that I have, maybe some people would be curious to find out what you're doing. Maybe we can close with a question, or you can then offer some insight. Something that everyone's always told about is networking. You have to network. You've got to go out and network. And a few people have asked me lately, they've done other courses and they've been told the value of networking and they don't know how to do it. You're a supreme networker. You know loads of people. I'm going to ask you.
Supreme networker. That's a nice one. I should maybe use it as my...
How do artists and photographers network? What should they do?
Well, I think
what shouldn't they do?
Yeah, that's maybe even more important. I think, what I would advise is that don't overwhelm yourself too much. That's the first thing. So kind of starting small, but then I think networking is more about being conscious, again, what you want. It doesn't matter how many people you know, really. You can know anybody, you can know Barack Obama, but what do you want from that person? I mean, how you can, and also how you can provide the value for that person. Because I think many times with networking, we're thinking about the profit for, that's something that I encountered, that people think more about me.
Yes.
And it's wrong, I would say. Also, that's in my approach. Also, I always try to understand my partner institutions, galleries, everybody, and my work is to support everybody. So it is to support the artists, but of course, it is also to support the curators. So if I understand what they are doing and what they are searching for, I'm not going to present things that they are not interested in, obviously, because it's the waste of their time. So I really respect my partners. I really know what is also interesting for them, how I can help them. And I think that's also, maybe the advice for people or for the artists also, thinking, okay, what can I bring? What kind of value can I bring to the table? And for that person also to be interested in me, not just because I am, right? Yeah. So twisting a perspective maybe. And then also actually having that perspective, I think it limits a little bit the network actually, or who you should contact, because of course the more you know what you can bring to the table and what you are interested in bringing to the table to a certain person, then suddenly it turns out that maybe you want to talk to 5 people or 10 people, not 500 people.
Exactly.
Because these are the people that actually can resonate with you and somehow connect with you over mutual interest, because this is really what it is about. And actually kind of connect forces or join forces for the sake of both sides. So I think this is also something to understand about networking, which is a little bit more maybe of an ugly word sometimes, or a duty that somebody should do. No, it's actually about a kind of really building a human connection with people and based on mutual interests. I would say this is how I define networking.
Yeah.
And by that also just having in the back of your head how we can really do something together, something, interesting for both sides, something that makes both sides grow, something that is valuable for both sides. So it is really a teamwork in the end, and I look at it like this. So if somebody wants to network, I would advise this also. What can I bring to the table and how I can connect with that person, and then based on that choose who you want to actually talk to in the first place.
Yeah, no, that's amazing advice. And I think even if you want to not use the word networking, think of it as building meaningful connections. Absolutely. Who do you want to build a meaningful connection with? Who do you want to get to know long term? And who do you want to have contact with over an extended period?
Absolutely.
Because it's not about speed dating and hooking up. It's essentially about having long-term relationships with people.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, absolutely. And then also, it's quite amazing also how these people can help you grow, not only as the artist, but as a human being, really. And I'm a big fan of mentoring myself, or having these the people in my life that advised me in the beginning of my career as well, that maybe I didn't even work with, or sometimes I did, but it was also really about this human connection and getting insights that I would never get otherwise. So learning about the industry, learning about life in general. So I think it's much broader than just, as you said, speed dating or...
Yeah.
Yeah, and that this is also when actually it's really super nice. It becomes very fantastic experience in the end of the day, networking.
Yeah, I think so too, and I guess also as well for a lot of people, they don't like doing it, but it's like you're approaching it wrong. It's like saying I don't like having friends. It's like, who doesn't like having friends?
Exactly, absolutely, and there are so many inspiring people in our industry. I'm always amazed. And I think also that's why I love it so much, because I really like the people. I like their commitment. I like the knowledge. I'm learning all the time something new from all these incredible people who have so much to do, to say, to share, so much knowledge, so much passion, dedication. I'm always amazed by it myself. So this is also really something that drives me in this work, and the talent of not only artists but then everybody involved, actually, because without everybody is creating this industry and this world, and we are all somehow trying to make it better for the artists and for ourselves, for the institutions that we work for the teams that we're passionate about, and so on. So there is a lot to share and to learn from each other, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. This was really lovely, Wiktoria. Thanks for meeting with me again. I'm really happy we got to record or save our recording or bring a new one into existence. I look forward to catching up with you this week.
Likewise.
I don't know, I guess in Arles we would just have an Aperol Spritz or something, but I don't know what the Parisians do.
Champagne. We're going for champagne this time.
All right, sounds good. Well, have a safe flight. Good to chat, and
likewise.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Michael. That was lovely. Thank you. And see you soon.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Wiktoria Michalkiewicz. To learn more about REZO Photography and Art Management Agency, go to rezo, rezo.pl/en. You can also follow Wiktoria on Instagram at WIKTORIAMI. The links to both of these are included in the show notes. If you don't want to miss out on the latest episodes of Subtext and Discourse Art World podcast, please subscribe to the program on your platform of choice. You're also welcome to send any comments, feedback, or questions about this or previous episodes of the show, whether through the contact form on my website or via social media. That's all for now. Thanks again for tuning in. My name's Michael Dooney, and you've been listening to Subtext and Discourse.